Greetings everyone, my name is Dr. Jason Freeman and I'd like to welcome y'all to my channel. In this video, I'm going to review the film The Silent Twins starring Letitia, Wright, and Tamara, Lawrance. I'm going to tell you what I liked about the film, I'm going to tell you what I didn't really like about the film, then I'm going to say whether I think you should see the film or just skip it. Now at any point, feel free to click the notification bell or subscribe to my channel to get more content. So, without further ado, let's begin. Now, The Silent Twins is a 2022 film that tells the story of June and Jennifer Gibbons. Now, there are several things that really set June and Jennifer apart. Well, first and foremost, they are of Afro-Caribbean heritage, living in Wales, in Great Britain. They also are prolific writers. So throughout the film, we see them writing and then kind of hear some of their stories. And then what's most interesting or most unique about the twins is that they only really speak to each other. Now, throughout the film, we see them having these very intense, very emotional conversations. And then whenever anyone comes in, whether it be their parents, whether it be their siblings, or an adult figure in their lives, they immediately shut down and don't speak at all. And so the film focuses on the difficulties that them not speaking to anyone other than their sibling, or specifically their twin, causes for them in their lives going forward. Now, the film is based on the book titled The Silent Twins that was published in 1986 that talks about the lives of June and Jennifer. And the writer of the book, Marjorie Wallace, actually is featured in the film and is played by the actress Jodie May. On a side note, I will be reviewing The Silent Twins, the book, pretty soon. Kind of talking about the things in which the book, ways in which the book and the film are different, and also whether I think you should read the book or just watch the film. I also wanted to mention that I saw this film on Amazon Prime, and if you want a free 30-day trial of Amazon Prime, please click the link in the description below. So, what did I like about the film? Well, first and foremost, I love the performances by Letitia, Wright, and Tamara, Lawrance. Now, any good acting performance is going to, one, grab your attention, and two, make you feel something. And that very much happens within this film. This film made me feel a myriad of emotions. It made me feel anger at various times, both at kind of how, in particular, Jennifer, played by Tamara Lawrence, treats June, as well as family members, how, they don't really know how to deal with their disabilities, basically. And also the anger of the outside world, in this case, the Welsh authorities, and how they treat the girls. I also felt fear for the girls at various points, because the one thing you got to remember watching the film is that these women, or the young women, are supposed to be teenagers, at least at the very beginning when we first meet them. I kind of lose track of how old they are as the film progresses when they're in the institution. But, early on, they're teenage girls, even though they're being played by adult women. And the point is, I feared for them. Like, when they would put themselves in these really dangerous situations, I was, nervous. I didn't want to see anything bad happen to them. There's one scene, I don't want to spoil anything, but they basically break into a house. And the whole time, I'm like, what's going to happen when they come in, when they get discovered? And so it's one of those things, there's that constant fear, that constant, on the edge, kind of emotion type thing that I think the film does a good job of kind of getting you to feel something in those moments. There's also kind of along the lines of fear, a little bit of awkwardness. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there are these scenes between them and some young men. I'll leave it, or a young man, I'll leave it at that. That, again, they're teenagers. Like, why am I watching this? Yeah, it's just one of those things that, as a 40-plus-year-old man at this point, watching some of those scenes just feels a little just off-putting. I feel very icky and uncomfortable watching some of these scenes. But again, the film does a good job of making you kind of suspend disbelief and okay, so this is really happening to these girls. And so you kind of just feel, the kind of what you would feel if this was happening in real life. And lastly, there are small moments of joy, especially when they kind of flash into their fantasy world, which they do at various points within the film. And you just feel the joy that these girls are feeling in that moment when they actually do feel somewhat free. And so I do like that. And so again, as you have these dark moments, and they do a real good job of switching between the dark and the light. So they have a really light moment within their world, and then they put to the actual room they're in or where they are. You see how dark and dank things are, which makes you understand why they want to escape to this fantasy world. And I think you really feel the emotions when they're in the fantasy world, when they're having these fantasies about what they want their life to actually be. You feel a little bit of joy that they have a little bit of escape in that moment. And Letitia Wright's performance in particular is very subtle. So it's not, over the top, not loud. A lot of what she does is silent, but with that silence, it does tell a lot about her personality and the dynamic between her and Jennifer, played by Tamara Lawrance. And so the fact that she's able to convey such a wide range of emotions when saying very little really kind of goes to her ability as an actress. And Tamara Lawrence as well. I mean, I really, as Jennifer, which I've read a little bit of the book already, and so I definitely get the domineering aspect of Jennifer Gibbons. And so I think Tamara does a good job of that, kind of how powerful, how she is the dominant twin, but she also has vulnerability as well. So what else did I like? Well, one thing this film is not afraid to take risk. There are some visuals in this film that are very strange, disturbing, very much in that fantasy realm. And so the thing with a film like this, if you're going into it thinking you get kind of a formulaic narrative, formulaic kind of film, like I would say a Marvel film, think about Wakanda Forever, this is not that film. This film is art. It reminds me of walking through the MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art. So you're kind of walking through the MoMA, and I've done that a couple times. You have these art pieces that are both intriguing, strange, but also it does evoke some kind of visceral reaction sometimes, either disgust or excitement or just something, or nostalgia, something like that. So this film is very much that. It takes risks. It shows things. Some of the risks don't pay off. Some of them just don't really, do it for me. Again, just speaking for myself as a reviewer. But I love the fact that they're willing to take risks. So often we are watching these movies that have these kind of clear, almost like paint by numbers kind of formulas. This is not that film. This film is very creative. So this film kind of goes places that I don't expect. And it does do things and have visuals that really stick with you. And so, yeah, that's very much something I love about this film. It takes risks. Some risks don't pay off, but that's nature risk. If it wasn't risk, it wasn't. I mean, if it paid off every time, it wouldn't be a risk. But when it does pay off, I think it does an amazing job. And it makes you feel something really, really deep. And one last thing I liked is this is a beautifully shot film. The cinematography is amazing. I'm not sure if that's just the fact that we're in an era where we can have these amazing cameras that really, I saw it in HD, that kind of, capture so much in their shots, or just the fact of the choices of the director. So this is actually, again, a beautifully shot film. I love the tight shots when it's on the girls. And so they do have a time jump in there. We have the you can see it in the trailer, the young girls, and then Letitia Wright and Lawrence as older women, women. And so I love when they focus in on these, on the two main characters, it's like you're in their world with them. And then they go to the fantasy realm as well. And the way that shot is amazing. So just a really beautifully shot, animated. It was some animation as well. Beautifully shot, beautifully animated film. So what didn't I like? Well, the first third to a half of the film is very plotting. That there's not really any direction of the narrative, which again is part of the whole idea of it's not formulaic. So it feels like a series of vignettes, or it feels like a bunch of chapters in the book. Of course, this film is based on a book. So it feels like kind of disjointed at the very beginning. Like this happened, this happened, this happened. This is here to tell me this about the girls. This is here to tell me this about the family. So that part, it seemed aimless. And so at the very beginning, I was kind of losing focus, it started losing my attention at various points because some of the stuff, like when they would have conflicts, that would kind of grab my attention because I wanted to see what happened. But when it was just them kind of existing, kind of talking, or family members in particular, it just wasn't that interesting. So that first third to a half of the film is really kind of, I would say, boring, or just doesn't really have any direction. Now, again, this might be a bit of a spoiler, but they are institutionalized, and you see that in the trailer as well. So they end up in an institution. as, you know, as older girls. I'm not gonna say why they got there, but they were in this institution. And from that point on, that's when the film has a direction. That's when there's a clear plot. There's a clear purpose and direction for the film. And I do enjoy that part, again, about a third to a half in on, because it feels like I'm going somewhere. But the front part is just kind of it's like a series of unfortunate events oftentimes. Some of them have nothing to do with other ones. They're kind of all over the place. And so that was something that I didn't really like about the film. Oh, also, okay, something I do like about the film, I forgot to mention that earlier. So one thing I do like about the film. So there's a lot of questions in the film about the fantasy elements versus the reality. The film does a good job of kind of just having both things being there. You don't always know what's real and what's not. In particular, there's some scenes with these American boys that I believe are real. I haven't, if it's, I think I read in the book that they might have been real, but in the movie, it's not made clear. And I like that. That's actually something I like. It makes me think about the film Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. Now, leaving the film, I had the same kind of questions. What was real and what was fantasy? And they made it very clear that some of the stuff in Joker was fantasy. It didn't really happen. You know, Zazie Beetz. So basically he meets her. I mean, spoiler alert. See that film, but spoiler alert. He meets Zazie Beetz towards the end of the film. And the idea is that all those scenes with her before were fake, all in his head. Well, there are definitely scenes in this film where I'm pretty convinced that they were all in the girls' minds, but it's not made totally clear. And so I'm going to read the book, finish reading the book, to see how much of it was real, how much it was fantasy. But I love that. I love the uncertainty. I love the fact that I, you know, as a viewer, can be part of the creative process. I can interpret the film being one way, or I can change my mind and say it's a different way. And it doesn't make the film you know, worse, you know, good or bad. It's just, oh, okay, so this is my new interpretation of the film. So it's almost like a living document. So should you see the film or just skip it? So the reason I say this is a see it is because you don't really see a lot of films with this level of complexity with mainly Black characters, in particular, young Black women characters. So I used the example of the Joker previously. So those type of films that is a little bit more abstract. So I think about Joker, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Being John Malkovich, these very strange films, adaptations of another film, Nicolas Cage film I really love, where again, the fantasy and the reality are tightly woven together and the characters are so like complex. You love them, you hate them, you love them, you fear for them, you love them again. So it's one of those things that you don't see this level of complexity a lot of times with films that are primarily have Black characters. And so I think part of that is that many writers historically have only, you know, not really shown Black characters outside of stereotypes in their films. So think about the 80s and 90s in particular, or when it is a Black character, they have to be perfect and shiny and without, you know, above reproach. But the point is that with these type of characters, oftentimes, if you have, again, Black women characters or Black characters in general, they're very one-dimensional. You don't really have a lot of complexity. And so this one is a really great, really complex set of characters. So if you found this review helpful, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, please share this video. Also, please let me know in the comment section below what other films you would like for me to review on this channel. Thank you all for your time and have a wonderful rest of your day.
I think you might be a bad influence on each other. Hello, June. Hello, Jennifer. I've recorded some questions here, and I've left enough space for you to answer. What do you think of your new school? Which do you like better, sunshine or rain?
How was your day, girls?
He spoke to me, and then it was just less and less, you know?
If there's something you want to communicate, you best say it now. Jennifer, June, how would you describe your personalities? I think you might be a bad influence on each other. It might be an idea to split you up for a while.
We will move the girls into special education.
Why won't you say anything?
We'll get them to talk yet.
Guilty or not guilty?
You need to take care of
You can
yourself.
at least say
You
something.
best say it now.
How do you plead?
They shall be institutionalized indefinitely.
If you were telling your story, how would it begin?
In order to write a good book, you need to feel it. You have to be inspired.
Writers now.
I can't bear life without my sister. It's brought a new awakening in me. I could reach out and touch the stars. I could see the galaxy.
Can't go back to the empty days before we found
I
love.
feel as though I'm swimming in a pool. It's like God gave me a chance. A chance to prove who I really am.